So hello fragrance lovers, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nick and this is Scent Remix. So a lot of times I get asked, when are you going to do another video? And quite honestly, I never have an answer for that because I just don't know when I will get around to doing another one. Because a lot of time it's a matter of time, it's a matter of inclination and also inspiration. I find that a lot of times I do have to be inspired to put out a video. I have to be just struck by, some idea to really get me going and get me motivated to do it. And I have to say that today's video is the latter. It was kind of inspired, not only by certain things that have happened in recent months, but also by a few people, in particular, a few bloggers, reviewers right here on YouTube and also over on Instagram that have chosen to come forward and speak up about matters that have bothered them, that have been of concern to them. And I really respect and admire these particular individuals for doing that. Just to mention a couple, Tim, his account is Smelly Swede. Again, he's here on YouTube and over on Instagram. And then on Instagram, Joseph, his account is JJ Colborn. So both of those individuals have kind of come forward. They've spoken up about a few things that, that they have seen and witnessed, maybe even heard of, that has been a little concerning to them about Fragcomm. Today, I wanted to kind of play off that theme because I really feel like the way that they went about it, they were not trying to start any controversy. They weren't trying to sensationalize anything or make a problem where there really isn't a problem. I think some of these things are very legitimate and they do concern me as well. There are some things that I would like to get off my chest. But instead of just focusing on purely the negative side of things, I kind of wanted to examine it from both aspects, the good and the bad, what I enjoy and what I also, could do without, in other words. So I wanted to take a very balanced approach to this. I don't want this to be all negative. I would like for there to be some positive in this discussion because there is, in all honesty, a lot of positive to be found in Fragcomm. And I did want to, kind of focus just primarily on what we're seeing going on over on Instagram. Not so much Facebook, and I'll explain my reasoning for that. I started out on Facebook quite a few years ago, and I got involved pretty heavily in a lot of the groups, and I had a fragrance account over there. But the atmosphere over there, I found to be so toxic and so ridiculous. There's just no other word for it. I mean, some of the conversations that they were having in these groups, I did not want to be a part of. I didn't feel like they had any place. Even if people were joking around, I love to joke around, but just some of it was so tasteless and off color. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be a part of it. So that is really why I jumped over on Instagram, because I figured that might be more of a controlled type atmosphere maybe. And so at the beginning of 2020, really right as the pandemic was starting, I decided to create an account and to focus primarily on fragrances. I was just really getting back into the whole thing and really starting to collect. So for me, it filled a couple of needs. First and foremost, a creative outlet. I always need a creative outlet of some kind. And also found that I had a lot more free time. With my job, which requires going into people's homes, that really wasn't happening. So I did have all of this free time on my hands that I felt like that I needed to fill with something constructive. And so I decided to do the whole Instagram thing. And so that's how I got started. And, for the most part, I've had such a ball with it. I've really enjoyed my time on Instagram. It has taught me so much. But as we mentioned earlier, there are always negatives to things. So let's get into this. Let's talk about some of the good and also the bad of Fragcomm, especially on Instagram. So the first good and positive thing that I would like to focus on as far as Instagram is concerned is something I mentioned just a few seconds ago, the creative aspect of it. Yeah, I need a creative outlet of some type just to keep me sane. And I find that Instagram really does that for me. Not only does it really push me out of my comfort zone where all of that is concerned, but it's constantly challenging me in other ways as well to, become more creative in my photographs and my posts, my writing, the way that I describe fragrances. A lot of times that's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're doing it constantly. It seems like you do get into a rut, and it's almost like you're saying the same things over and over again. So to really sit down and think about different ways to present things, different ways, different settings to photograph a bottle of fragrance, I find that extremely fascinating. I find it extremely challenging. And for me, boring and monotonous those are two of my biggest enemies. I cannot stand either one of those things. So I've constantly got to be changing things up. I have proudly accepted the title of Prince of Random because that's how my brain works. I am totally random with everything that I do. My account reflects that. I'm just kind of all over the place. And I'm good with that because, again, I don't like boring. I don't like the same thing all the time. So it works for me. Another thing too that I want to mention is, how inspired I become looking at other people's posts and reading them. I don't really go in for copying what someone else is doing, but I do believe that a lot of times we can be inspired by that. We can take kind of what they've done and we can make it our own. We can put our own personal stamp on it. I don't find that there's anything wrong with that at all. And again, it's a way that we grow, that we can become exposed to different ways of doing things. And I think all of that is great. So yes, the creative aspect of Instagram is one thing. It's probably my number one thing that I really, really enjoy. So number two, another positive that I love about Fragcomm on Instagram, and this probably could have rightfully been number one because it ranks pretty high up there with the creative side of things, but the sense of community that you get. I really couldn't believe when I first started diving into this whole thing, the number of individuals out there in the world like myself that are just crazy passionate for fragrances. I mean, it kind of blew my mind. And to be able to meet these individuals, some of which, you would never have come across otherwise, and to be able to have these really interesting, constructive conversations with them, the amount of things that you learn from one another, it's a great thing. And one of the things that I noticed when I first started was that there does seem to be this mentality of, I will scratch your back as long as you scratch mine and do it first. Almost like, whatever I do for you, well, it has to be predicated on what you've done for me first. And I don't really agree with that at all. I don't like that way of thinking because I feel like that if you were going to support each other, then it should be done unconditionally. And I feel like the people that I have met, that I've become close to, we're like that. We've got this strong core that are mutually supporting one another, which of course is mutually beneficial, but at the same time we recognize the limitations that each person is working under, the fact that we're living different lives, we're working with different schedules, different demands on our time. So we recognize that it's not always going to be possible for us to be there to like every single post, comment on every single post. That's just not realistic for most of us. And so we're not getting bent out of shape just because so-and-so, you know, I notice I'm going through my list of likes and that person hasn't liked my photo. I mean, oh my God. I mean, we're not like that. It's, to me, that is, again, a little unrealistic. It's also a little ridiculous, if I'm being completely honest, that we would have those type of expectations. So, but yeah, I have just, I've met some fantastic people, and I truly value the friendships that I have made here on Instagram, and you all know who you are, who I'm referring to. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being such a great friend and making my experience, my personal experience on Instagram, as enjoyable as it has been. And then number three, the third positive thing that I enjoy about Instagram, and that is the opportunity that it affords you to learn. I have learned so much in just the past 2 years. I don't really feel like I should have the brain capacity to store and retain every bit of information that I have gathered just from being a part of the community, reading people's posts and their descriptions, and being introduced to this brand and that fragrance. And I mean, there's just always something new to learn, whether it is about brands, how they work, what goes into creating a brand, different notes, learning about those, even like the marketing aspect of things. These master classes that we have been able to take with Victoria from La Perfumerie in Raleigh, they have been so eye-opening as to what really goes into starting a brand, and just the behind-the-scenes knowledge that you wouldn't normally get. So all of that together, it has really allowed me to grow so much in my personal bank of knowledge. And I really find that I have done a lot of progressing and growing. I remember when I first started out, I was very particular about what fragrances that I like. And I felt, you know, I've always been very open-minded about things, but also I had these very definite opinions about what I liked and what I didn't like. But since being a part of, you know, Fragcomm, especially on Instagram, I have been exposed to so many new fragrances, so many new things that I normally would not have even considered. Notes that I used to hate, I now like and enjoy. I'm actually, you know, I'm actively seeking fragrances with these particular notes, because I find it so fascinating how I've changed, how I've grown to really appreciate and love these particular ingredients. So yeah, that would definitely be a third positive for me, just the sheer amount of knowledge and the growing that I've been able to do because of it. All right, and so now we come to the less than positive things that I find in Fragcomm, in particular on Instagram, and even here on YouTube sometimes as well. This first thing is what I like to refer to by the slang psychological terminology of herd or pack mentality. Yeah, there's just this very unique thing in Fragcomm where, and this kind of goes back to something that a few other bloggers have brought up, this thing about self-appointed gatekeepers. So there's certain individuals within Fragcomm that they've gotten to a certain point. They've amassed quite a lot of followers. They feel like they have a little bit of clout in the community, and so they kind of set themselves up as this type of gatekeeper, where they feel like they have the right to kind of make rules or set protocols as to how things should be done. Now, we realize that on Instagram, you know, there are a certain amount of rules that have to be followed. Instagram wants you to do things a certain way in order for your account to grow. Well, you know, so now we've got this other aspect, these individuals that, you know, feel like that they have this right to set up these rules and protocols in order for you to fit in, to be accepted, and yes, also to grow your account. So, okay, let's get real about things. You know, even though a lot of us consider this to be a hobby, we do it just for fun. We do like the idea of our account growing. I mean, we put all of this hard work into these reviews, into our photographs and our descriptions and things of that nature. We naturally want to see something from that. We want to see that our efforts are being valued and appreciated. That is only natural. There is nothing at all wrong with that. But when it comes down to following these very specific and sometimes very stupid rules, and again, even those set by Instagram itself, you know, of when to post, how to post, what hashtags to use. Can't use too many of the same hashtags over and over again. You can't comment, you can't like too much because you might end up in Instagram jail. And then on top of that, you've got individuals that are starting their own hashtags for the sake of helping you to grow your accounts. You know, I don't buy into all of that. I don't buy into the conformity that this all requires. You know, first of all, the whole matter of when to post, how to post, hashtags, all of that, that's a little too much to worry about, you know, and I should be able to do exactly what I want to do. I mean, it is my account, right? And as far as being penalized for some of this stuff, for liking too much, commenting too much, isn't that exactly what this platform is set up for? I mean, this is the model that Instagram has created for us. You know, that's how we interact with each other, right? We like each other's posts, we comment on them, we share them. So to turn around and be punished for that, that just doesn't make any sense. And I'm sorry, you know, these hashtags that are being set up by individuals, by, again, these gatekeepers, who feel like that they have that kind of clout where they're like, hey, use my hashtag. This will help you to grow your account. What is the motivation there? Okay, let's again be real and genuine about this. The reason for those hashtags is not to help you. I mean, it does, but that's only a residual of it. The main benefit of this hashtag is for the person themselves, to grow their own account, for them to become more popular. I'm sorry, I don't buy into that. I just don't buy into the fact that any one person should feel like that they are that great where they set up a hashtag for themselves for other people to follow and then try to make out like it's all for the benefit of the other person. That doesn't fly with me. And so that is exactly why, if you've taken notice, I don't use any of these stupid hashtags because I'm sorry, I'm not going to conform that way. I want to do things on my own terms. I want to grow my account as organically and as authentically as I possibly can. And I don't feel like that I can do that following someone else's rules, because that's basically what it comes down to. So that is one of the things that I really, really despise about Instagram. This whole herd pack mentality and this whole idea of having to conform to a certain set of rules and standards. It's just not for me. And I'm sorry, I'm just not taking part. So number two, on the negative side of things, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the behaviors that we see, especially on Instagram. You know, while I have received a whole lot of support and I've met a whole lot of nice people, on the other hand, I have seen a lot of bad, ridiculous stuff. I have seen backstabbing. I have seen some pretty shady, underhanded things going on behind the scenes that sometimes I can't even believe it. Not only have I personally witnessed and seen it happen, but I've also heard of other instances where things have taken place. Not to harp too much on this whole gatekeeper thing, but you know, one person in particular that I'm thinking of has, you know, kind of been at the center of a lot of this. And, you know, I just remember this instance of this one guy that I had gotten to know. Really nice guy, really knowledgeable. I really enjoyed his account, and some things happened that he didn't quite agree with where it concerned this gatekeeper. And he called the person out for it, which, you know, at the time I thought, you know, was a pretty gutsy move. But in the end, I really respected his strength of character in doing that. It was a pretty bold thing to do. But as a result of that, I tell you what, it was like the Wicked Witch of the West sending out her flying monkeys on this poor guy. I mean, that's exactly how it was. It was like the Bayhive or the Swifties, like just going to town on this fellow. And it was pure horror to watch. This guy, in a matter of just a few days, lost the biggest majority of his followers. And in the end, I mean, it wrecked him so bad that he ended up leaving Instagram over it. And I'm sure there was a lot of other things, you know, that I'm not aware of that went on behind the scenes and everything. But, you know, just what I was aware of, I mean, it was pretty bad. And it was sickening. It was sickening that, you know, one person should feel like that they have that much power. And the fact that there were these other individuals that just kind of cowered under this perceived notion of what was going on and chose to defend the one individual and just completely try to destroy the other. I don't agree with that at all. I hate to see things like that happen. You know, in addition to that, I mean, just, you know, some of the very competitive nature that that is engendered in this type of environment, you know, where you do feel like sometimes that, you know, you're being pitted against one individual or another. People begging brands for free bottles of fragrance. What is that all about? Is that your only motivation for being in this community? Is for free stuff? Or is it because you're trying to be a big shot? You're trying to be the next Jeremy Fragrance? I don't understand what people think that they are going to get out of this whole thing. That's really what I don't understand, and why they are so willing to just lose every ounce of dignity, give up their standards and everything for what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to lose my credibility. I'm not going to go against my standards to obtain whatever it is. I think that part of this whole Instagram reviewer influencer thing is just totally ridiculous. And then finally, you know, I also see this as being a big issue, but I guess again, it's just part and parcel to this platform that we are a part of. It's just a natural part of how Instagram is designed. But we all know the expression FOMO, fear of missing out. I think there is a big element of that within even Fragcomm, because, you know, we see constantly, you know, people posting this fragrance, that fragrance, all of these beautiful, sometimes really pricey bottles of fragrance. And, you know, even, you know, we see this one individual where they're posting their bottle of Roja on the top of the Eiffel Tower, or, and then the next day they're posting their bottle of EBK in a vineyard outside of Tuscany. You know, that kind of like plays on your mind a little bit. And, you know, for some individuals, and I've been guilty of it myself, you know, you look at what they're doing and the type of lifestyle that they have, and, you know, you're like, that person really has it made. You know, I wish I could be more like them. I wish I could do this and have that. And it really becomes pretty toxic, both mentally and emotionally for an individual when they get so caught up in that type of thing. But you know, in reality, in just keeping things real here, a lot of that isn't reality, because that is how this whole thing is set up. We are able to present a side of things, a side of our life to people exactly the way that we want them to see it. And a lot of times it's not really accurate. It's not reality. But you have all of these other people looking at it, they're buying into it, and they're feeling just awful about themselves and about their life and what they don't have. And, you know, and again, I mean, there's nothing that can be done about that, because it's just a natural part of the whole thing. And I guess how we choose to respond to it and choose to take it. But something that I've really tried hard to remember and just, you know, kind of drill into my own brain is that it is okay to just be yourself, live your life, and just live the best life that you can. You know, if there are things that need to be changed that you can change, by all means do it. But do it for yourself. Don't do it because you're looking at this person over here and you want what they have. Or, you know, because you feel like that you're in competition with someone, or you're trying to keep up with someone. There is no way in this world that that is ever going to bring you true happiness. So, you know, I think that that is really, it's a downfall of this platform in a lot of ways, and even in Fragcomm, because we get so caught up in this whole thing. And, you know, and with like the fragrances, you know, it does really push you sometimes to feel like that, you know, well, I need that bottle of fragrance, you know, so I might not have the money for it, but I'm going to go out and buy it because, you know, this person over here has it and they're, you know, raving about it, raving about how good it is. And you know, I need it now. And we get ourselves in trouble, you know, financially, buying things that we really can't afford. We're putting, you know, fragrances on credit cards and, you know, money that we don't really have. So it can be dangerous. I mean, we really have to put things into perspective when, you know, it comes to stuff like this. And it's just something that I have to constantly remind myself of, because I've gotten caught up in it as well. So that is definitely another negative that I see in Fragcomm on Instagram. So glad to have all of that off my chest. So at this point, I'm kind of wondering what your thoughts are about some of these matters that I brought up, both the negative and the positive. What I'd like to hear mostly is the positive, what positives you've received from being a part of the fragrance community. I do like to focus on the positive, because I think for the most part, there is so much out there to focus on and enjoy. To a certain extent that I think that it does kind of outweigh the negative. But at the same time, without constructive discussion about the negative, how can anything possibly change? If we are not making awareness of some of these issues, it's just going to always stay the same. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. Again, I would love to hear your comments, your thoughts and opinions about all of this. And please, the good and the bad. I know a lot of you might not agree with some of what I've said today, and that's fine. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. I want to hear what yours are, so yeah, please drop me some comments. Let me know what you think. So until the next time, stay safe, take care.